Well, what is going on, Bills Mafia? It is so good to have you in live with me, Joe Miller, your host on the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics multicast network. I was about to say the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube network. In case you didn't know, the Buffalo Fanatics bought YouTube. Big thing. I'm surprised you didn't hear about it in the news. That's actually not true. That's a lie. But it is good to have you guys up in here with me this evening on a Wednesday night. We've got another playoff game coming. We got a lot of good things lined up for you tonight. As always, we're going to talk about the Colts game, the victory against the Colts. We're gonna put it to bed, if you will, and then we're gonna move on, transition around 9:30 over to the Baltimore, the RATBIRDS game. The Baltimore Ravens game. So here's the thing. I spent a lot of time in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio, 13 years to be exact. And some of my best friends were Browns fans. And as though most of you remember, Art Modell moved the Browns from Cleveland to Baltimore. So the Browns hate the Ravens. And they affectionately call them the RATBIRDS. So like we call the Dolphins the fish, they call the Ravens the RATBIRDS. So I stole that. Shout out to Jared Carr, my very, very good friend. He may be in the chat tonight. But here's what's up. You are watching the Hump Day on the Buffalo Fanatics multicast network. Do me a favor, whatever platform you're watching on, share this thing. Get some more Bills Mafia up in here. I would tell you that the best place to be is probably YouTube, because YouTube is where the majority of Bills Mafia are going to be. That's where the conversation is going to roll and kind of work the best. And that's also where you can do this. You can super chat me. You can get my attention, and I'm going to see it. It's going to glow and be highlighted just like that. And I won't be able to miss it. Judge Steve Mathis, the judge, thank you for the super chat. Judge Mathis is the coolest Buffalo fanatic. When you have hair like that and you're rocking the beard, right? And you've got the disconnected beard at the top, right? So you clearly got cut well. And then you've got those shades. You've got the, it's too cool for school shades. I would have to agree with that sentiment that you are the coolest Buffalo fanatic. This side of the Mississippi, wait. You're on the wrong side of the Mississippi. So you're in Arizona. So I don't know. We can just call you the coolest fanatic. But this is what we're going to do. So normally what I do is I talk about by myself for the first half hour of the show, the last week's game. And like I said, we put it to bed, right? We put it to bed and I give you my feeling on it, my take on it. I take some comments and some questions. And then I bring Clay in at 9:30 to talk about this week's game, because Clay does the Buffalo Counterpoint podcast, which he does a very good job on. To me, he's one of my go-to people to find out, information that I'm looking for on our next opponent. But this is what's up. There were 6,700 people allowed in Bill Stadium this past weekend for the football game. Myself and Jay Spence were one of them. Clay was another one. Clay went with his dad. And we had an amazing time. If you did not catch the first 17 minutes of my monologue for my podcast that came out on Sunday, you need to. It's basically all the feels. Billy Scott, thank you so much for joining the show. Give me a super chat. Good luck this week. Got to beat those purple pigeons. Purple pigeons, RATBIRDS, however you want to affectionately name them. I'm good with it. But the Titan fan jumping up in here. So Billy, thank you so much for the super chat, and that's what we're going to do. But getting back to it. So what Clay and I thought would be cool was for me to bring him on early. So to bring him in here like now, and we would recap for you how we felt, our experience going to that football game against the Colts. But before we do, yes, people are saying it, hump the like. I need you to jump on the like button, whatever platform you're on. We've got 57 likes in here already. About 140 people watching, about 200 people watching across every platform. But yeah, so without any further ado, hang on a second. I got to make sure that I got my banners and my brands and everything else right. So Clay, I'm going to add you to the stream. That worked. And look at that. I'm getting good at this.
You are. It's better every time.
I'm getting good at this. So my man, Clay, how are you tonight, first of all?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great as I'm moving my iMac across my desk to get it closer to my face. That's high tech right there. So I'm doing great. How are your hands after smashing the backs of the seats?
My hands are finally recovering. My left thumb's still a little sore, but hands are recovered. I didn't bruise as bad as I thought I was going to.
Really?
But yeah, it was quite the experience there.
Yeah, and now my light's too hot. So this is the struggles of being a redhead, being a ginger. Yeah, and how's your voice? So I need to ask you that secondly.
Voice is not bad. I mean, I jumped on a live show on Sunday, I think it was, and that was rough. Halfway through the show, I hadn't said a single word the entire day until that show.
Right.
And about halfway through, about a half hour in, my voice kind of quit out on me, and I was really struggling through the end of it. But fully recovered now. My vocal cords are feeling good. But yeah, they were on the ropes there for a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was the same way. So I was able to knock out the podcast on Saturday night. I was a little bit scratchy, if that makes any sense. Like there was just, so if I got into my voice like I am now, there was just a little bit of a scratchiness, kind of a strain there. I spent most of the day in gloves, so I yelled more than I beat the back of the seat in front of me. Do me a favor. Did you happen to, if you didn't, it's fine. Did you happen to catch my podcast on Sunday?
I did not yet, no.
So I did a very good job, I felt, of just kind of describing the emotion of the entire day, like all the way, like driving into the stadium, getting to the stadium, walking in, what I felt. So I know where I landed, and I can talk a little bit about that. But let's hear from your side. So start back as early in the day as you want, as far as that goes. But give us just a real quick breakdown, a summary of just that day for you, starting at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I mean, it went pretty well for me. The whole day was pretty smooth. Got up, regular time. I actually slept pretty well, which was a little surprising. I didn't know how I was going to be able to sleep the night before. I slept pretty well, so I was pretty happy about that. My dad came up from our hometown and met me up here in Buffalo. And then
Where's hometown?
Corning, New York, in the Corning area. Technically,
Gotcha.
Horseheads, Big Flat. There's a bunch of little towns out there. But yeah, Horseheads is the town I grew up in. I went to Horseheads High School. So
nice.
But there was a Horseheads alum in here. I saw Grady there, one of my buddies.
Oh, nice.
But yeah,
welcome.
so
Welcome, Grady. Welcome.
But yeah, so met up with my dad, and we went over to the stadium. We got in right at about our close to our window there. I think we got there maybe 15 minutes, half hour before our window. And
What's your window? What was your
window was 12:15. And for those who haven't listened to your podcast or didn't see the live show on Sunday, there's a specific time window when you had to go into your gate. And there's a specific gate you had to go into. But we pulled right up, we parked, and as soon as we got out of the car, there were some guys that said, "Hey, you want a shotgun a beer?" And so we said, "Yes, we would like to do that." So we got a nice quick beer shotgun in before we went into the stadium. Got into the stadium. It was honestly such a smooth process. The way they had it set up, none of the gates had any lines really. There'd be maybe one person at each metal detector, if that. But when you went through your gate, your specific gate at your specific time, and it was so well set up. We had never sat over in that section of the stadium before, so got through our gate easy, found our seats, and honestly, it was pretty great. A lot of the fans were in very good moods. We had a guys in suits next to me. One of them was wearing plaid bell bottoms. He was looking great. But yeah, I mean, yes, Matt, I am going to get to that. I did see the fight in the stands. I don't know if you guys seen that video because that was in my section. So
did you see my tweet about it today?
No, what did you say?
I was like, Bills are AFC East champions. We have a home playoff game for the first time in 25 years. Fans are actually loud in the stands, and the Bills win. And what do? You fight.
Just want to fight. I'm pretty sure those guys were in the same pod too, so they might have been brothers or something. I don't know what it was, but they were both, very, we're drinking very well that day.
Yeah. So
he, the one of the guys had come over and was high fiving everybody and screaming and all that good stuff. But yeah, that was in my section. It was right around the Rodrigo Boink was when that fight was happening. Thanks, Eric. Good to be here early as well. But yeah, and then other than the people fighting, it was a great atmosphere. Stressful toward the end. I don't know how you guys were doing over there, but I don't think I've ever been that loud before. Just because I was letting all my emotion out.
Yeah, I was too.
Noise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite the experience there, and I had a great angle, honestly. It was almost like the end zone cam from the all-22, so I could see everything develop really nicely. It was honestly just an amazing experience, and the Bills could honestly open up the 300 level as well, and I still think that it would be a smooth process just because it went so well. I can't see any reason why they wouldn't have an issue opening up the 300s as well.
That was actually something that Jay Spence and I came away with. So I've been obviously a proponent for having fans in the stands, and Jay Spence has just been more on the cautious side of, you know what, maybe it just makes sense to not. And I get that feeling, and I'm okay with it. It's not like worth arguing about. But after being at the game, even he was like, oh, they could absolutely open the upper decks. Like I think it was the windows, the opening the stadium or opening the seats at windows, I think was the big part of it, because we walked up, our gate was complete. Ours was 12:25. That's when our entry time was. There was nobody at the gate at all. And the dude walked up to us, security walked up, checked our COVID test with our driver's license. And then we just walked through, they obviously security checked us and then scanned our tickets and we were in. Yeah. So yes, hang on a second. Oops, wrong one. This thing's hopping around. Colin Cuoco, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for being a part of the show, brother. Just did my COVID test for the game. Appreciate you answering my questions, Clay.
No problem.
Yep, I will be going crazy for you, for all of you for not who are not going to be there. Yes, and I would tell you this too. We'll do our best. We can, if anybody's going to the game and you have concerns, questions, both of us went. So we'll be able to answer, whether just try to get our attention if you can. And the chat's going to start rolling. There's 250 people already kind of with us.
Yeah. And Collins, you know, he let me know, he sent me a DM, said, I'm trying to get tickets. And then when he did, he was just asking some questions about the procedure. If anyone else is going, has procedural questions, you can reach out to us. I'm glad to answer any questions. But yeah, happy for you, Colin. Make sure you're nice and loud for us.
So I did a real good job. For those of you that aren't listening currently or haven't listened to either my show, the Overreaction Pod, or even Clay's show, the Buffalo Counterpoint Pod, you should. So if you enjoy what you get here from us, take the next step, which is the logical step, because our primary is not the Hump Day Hotline. Our primary is our podcast. That's actually our primary thing. But I did a very good job Saturday night. I thought it was it's probably the monologue I'm most proud of that I've done. And I've done a bunch. I've been doing this for 2 years. Because I'm not a super feely person. I'm not a super connected to my emotions person. I'm a girl dad. So yes, that does help me with a lot, but by and large, I'm not super compassionate. I'm not super empathetic. It's just how I'm wired. I'm a firstborn child to two kids that were divorced before I was 2 years old. And there's a whole long line of stories about that kind of stuff. I had to grow up fast, for lack of a better way, or lack of a better way of saying it. But I did a very good job of just describing kind of what I went through and what I felt through the day, even to the point of, you know, the first time I saw the lights. So coming up Southwestern and seeing the lights in the stadium on, and like just how that felt to me. And then just kind of the reality that, you know, the biggest concern I had kind of even coming into this game or before the playoffs is like, we have the best football team we've had since 1991, 13-3, best football team we've ever had, or since 91. And there's this great fear inside of me that like, this team is never going to get to meet us. They're never going to get to meet Bills Mafia, and we're never going to get to meet them. You know what I mean? So just the surrealness of actually getting to be in the stadium. And I didn't cry. I know a lot of people did cry, whether it was at the beginning or the end. But I was choking back mistiness. Like there was a matter of looking around the stadium, seeing Bills Mafia and the smiles on the faces and just kind of the pep in the step and seeing the players on the field. It was touching. But the football game, let's get into the football game. So the game itself, Spence he was just on the Built-In Buffalo show, and he said there were times in that game where him and I were standing in our seats like, what the is going on? And that was literally pretty accurate. You know, the 3 and out where Moss takes the ball up the gut for 7 yards, and then they run the ball 2 more times for a 3 and out, and it was just like, where did our offense go? Right. So between that, I don't understand why all of a sudden the RPOs came back and why they came back in such a heavy fashion. Like this isn't really, I mean, if you want to establish the run, I get it, but maybe there's better. The quarterback sweep. I don't think we've seen the quarterback sweep since the Texans game last year, which was successful in that game. The first one, Josh pounded, had a ton of yards. The second one was the one where he'd still be running today if Dawson Knox gets that block. Instead, the guy runs by Dawson Knox and the dude basically plants Josh Allen in the turf. And we could probably all have a conversation about whether or not Josh was right after that hit for the rest of the game, because he got drilled and hit really, really hard in that Texans game. But thoughts on the football game and the game plan itself? Let's do offense first.
The offensive game plan, it didn't seem, I don't know. It was very Dable-like, I will say, and not so much this year Dable, but there was some flashes of 2019 Dable in there as well, where every once in a while I can be like, that was a weird play call. I'm not sure why we're running that in this situation, especially because he too many times would try to force a run in a situation where we definitely could have passed it. I understand our, in a short yardage situation, our short yardage guy, Cole Beasley, he was banged up. And like, I get that you kind of maybe want to try to avoid going to him every once in a while, but they were trying to force the run too much, I think, against a really good run defense. And it just didn't seem necessary to me. So there were some times where I was scratching my head a little bit on the offensive side. But I mean, other than that, I think they did well as far as game planning goes. And honestly, it was kind of hard to tell what the game plan was sometimes, just because Josh did a really good job of improvising a lot. I feel like a lot of his best plays were not on script, but it was just, I'm going to run around in the pocket and make something happen. So I think he did a good job of that, but it felt okay to me. I don't think it definitely wasn't Dable's best game that he called, but overall, I think they executed well. Josh had a good day. He has 3 touchdowns and over 300 yards. You can't argue with that. And I do like how they kept on running that QB draw, because the Colts were letting them, they were leaving the middle of the field wide open. So, hey, we're going to run you up the middle and make you put guys in there, help to open up the pass game a little bit. I did actually think that was a smart thing to do.
Yeah. And Caitlin's got a great question. And this is all the rage and has been since the playoffs have kind of began. I think we talked about it last week a little bit. It's been talked about a lot. Why would we try to establish the run? And it's funny because I think the right answer, and Jay Spence has it, and I agree, and I think you're there with me. It's not about like trying to come out and like opening the game with like 20 straight run plays and making sure we establish the run because it's the playoffs. It's more about being able to establish the one run when we need to. And there's a great deal of, like, we've seen the Buffalo Bills in the last 5-6 weeks do that. The times when they've needed to run the clock out, run 6 minutes of the clock down at the end of the game to close games out, or catch them when they're not ready with a run play. Like, there's been a lot of times where the Bills have been successful doing it. The head scratcher is when, and to your point about Dable, it seems like sometimes he maybe outsmarts himself, and he just forces something. And what's funny is Mookie Hawkins felt after the game that he kind of got out coached a little bit as far as in this football game, and we got out coached a little bit on defense as well. And credit to Frank Reich, and credit to their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, Derflus or whatever his name is. Like, they had a great game plan against us, both offensively and defensively. Your point about Josh Allen being off script, there probably isn't a better NFL quarterback off script, and a better receiving core off script, because it went from it went from Cole Beasley even last year, kind of like, go find the open spots in the underneath and do your thing. So he was kind of the first guy that it's like, just kind of do your thing. And then Diggs came in, and Diggs and him got on the same page, and they developed this chemistry, and Diggs would just pay attention to what Josh was doing. And he was like, help your boy out. If I'm down, pick me up. And Diggs would. And that is now carried over to Gabriel Davis, like, where Gabriel Davis is now head up, eyes open for when Josh is getting in trouble, and he's finding the soft spots in the zone or in the defense. So to your point, it's almost unstoppable. The only way you can stop it is if Josh is off on his throws, or if those toe taps aren't there. And what a game! I mean, from a toe tap standpoint, that was just stinking ridiculous. I mean, they only showed 2 of them on Good Morning Football today for the toe drag swag. They didn't show the first one, which was almost nicer than some of the other ones, but he did win, which was cool. He was on GMFB. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, I did see that. He deserved it. I mean, both of those catches, and from the angle that I had, you probably had a really good angle of the second one, because that was over on your sideline.
Yeah, right in front of me.
But the first one, I had a pretty good angle of both of them, just because, I could see both sidelines pretty well. The first one, I was kind of thinking I wasn't really sure. Honestly, both of them, I wasn't really sure. And I was just watching the refs after the catch and seeing, what they were doing with their hands, because I was like, that could go either way, really. But both of them, incredible catches. I can't believe, we're trying to come up with nicknames, sideline surgeon, what are some of the other ones that people have been coming up with here?
Yeah. It was incredible. But yes, what cued me into knowing that, because on the screens you're seeing exactly what they're looking at underneath the hood. So when they backed out to like where the line markers were, that was when I knew that they were going to reverse the call or whatever they were going to do. I was like, oh, that's a positive. So Rashid Turner, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Well, thank you for the super chat. Welcome in. I feel a collective fear we are going to go home this week. Here's the thing. Both these football teams were good. Every football team left is pretty good in the playoffs. I mean, there's 8 teams left, right? So there's 8 teams left in the NFL playoffs. They're all really, really good. Even the Steelers or the Browns I mean, the gifts aside, they played a very, very good football game against the Steelers. Even if the Bills do go home, we have a lot to be proud of. This is not something where like we should run away from this thing and be like super upset or bent out of shape. You know, this was our year. It was Super Bowl or bust, because it wasn't. To be honest with you, and I said this on my pod as well, all the boxes have been checked. At this point in time, everything's gravy. What did we want to see? We wanted to see progress from Josh Allen. Big check. We wanted to see them win a playoff game. Oh, win the AFC East, check. And we wanted to see them win a playoff game, check. Those were the three things coming into the season the Bills Mafia and the nation wanted to see. And we got those things. So for me, this is one of those moments, and I'd love to get your take on this, where Saturday, I'm going to be anxious. I'm going to be nervous. But as Bills Mafia, this is what we've been waiting for. This is like the next step in the progression, the next step in the process, if you will. Like this is the game that we've been wanting. Like we're going against one of the best teams in the league. They scare the crap out of us. We probably scare the crap out of them, knowing that they blitz a lot. And Josh Allen is like the best quarterback in the league against the blitz. And they doubled down today and said that they're going to blitz him. I'm going to enjoy it, win or lose. Like this is one of those games for me where, like, win or lose, I'm gonna do my best to enjoy it and not be pissed off if the Bills lose.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And you know, like you said, all the boxes were checked. Those were all the things that I wanted going into the season. Improve Josh, AFC East, win a playoff game. Honestly, win a playoff game was at the beginning of the season. I was like, okay, that's the next logical step. Win a playoff game, and I'll feel confident in the team, in the direction that they're going. And you know, they did that already. And the thing is, this kind of feeling that we have right now, where it's like, oh, we're facing a good team. It's going to be a tough game. You know, either team could come out on top. We have to get used to this feeling, because this is something we're going to be feeling next year, likely, because we're probably, it's not going to be a one and done situation with this team. We should get used to this feeling of we're going against a good team. We can beat them. They could beat us. It just kind of depends which players are performing best. And, you know, the game plan goes into it as well. And whoever has the better game plan, and whoever, you know, if one guy is hot, if a couple guys are hot on one team, that's a team that's going to win the game. And it really could go either way, you know, given the factors that are going into it.
Yeah, and Kingpin's got a comment that I want to get to in a second, but I got to get to a couple things. The judge says Gabriel Davis's nickname is Zay Jones, but good. He's way better than Zay Jones. Like, and I want to know how you got red. When I saw red popped up, I got excited, because normally the red banner is like $50 or $100. So somehow he got $2.99 on a red banner. So stop that, Judge. Keep it like in the Easter colors for me. Ryan, hump those likes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network. I'm your host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. That is my co-host, Clay Troya. You can find him on Twitter at Clay Troya. And we are right now talking about the Buffalo Bills versus the Colts, but we will be talking in a moment about the Buffalo Bills versus the Ravens, the RATBIRDS. But yes, jump on the like button, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, I would encourage you, jump over to YouTube, type in a search for Buffalo Fanatics. The show will come up. I got to find Kingpin's comment right here. It is because I want to talk about this. Pierre Kingpin, and I love you, Pierre, and we all love you. So shout out to the OG. Like Kingpin, he's got that name for a reason. The man founded Fanatics. This is the man. If we don't win this year, you really have to question when. This might be the best team we'll ever have under Josh Allen's tenure. Once we pay Josh, everything changes. I have a comment. You just talked. I'll let you go after me. For me, I understand where you're coming from, Kingpin, and I totally get it. Get it. Like, this team surprisingly came out better than we ever thought they would be. First of all, we're not losing a ton of people, and the people that we are losing kind of need to go. The Trent Murphys of the world and some other guys like that. Insecki's going to be gone at 8, 9, 10 million a year. There's some guys that are going to go that's going to allow us to keep some of the players that we're concerned about keeping. Yes, the Josh Allen, I'm going somewhere with this. Yes, the Josh Allen contract is a factor down the road. It could very easily be structured so that it doesn't even kick in, much like Mahomes' contract, until 24, 25, 26, before it really becomes a cap burden. This is what I would challenge you with on this comment, and all of Bills Mafia. When are we going to trust Brandon Beane? Right? When are we going to trust this guy? I don't agree with this at all. I don't think this is the best team that we're going to see with Josh Allen for a number of reasons. Number one, we don't have a running back 1A. Like, imagine this offense with an RB1. We don't have that yet. I'm not sure we have a tight end 1, right? We've got a couple guys that are good blockers. We got a couple guys that kind of can catch when they're not like looking away from the ball. But if he goes and gets us an RB1 and a tight end one, a TE1, this offense is better than it is right now. And the defense, I think, is always going to be tough. But for me, I'm ready to trust Brandon Beane going forward. Thoughts on that as far as it being the best team we might ever see?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit it on the head for me. I was going to say, basically, I don't think this is the best team that we'll see under Josh Allen, and that's because if you take a look at the team last year, it was a good team, and Josh was nowhere near playing at the level that he's playing at this year. In my opinion, every aspect of this football team regressed except for the quarterback and the wide receivers. So wide receiver play massively improved, obviously, with Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, John Brown, Cole Beasley. Having those four guys has been absolutely amazing. Look at every other aspect of this team. The run game regressed. The rush defense wasn't that good last year, regressed even further. The pass defense regressed. Every aspect of it has basically gone down. Punting game went up. We'll give Corey Bojorquez that. But
I bought a jersey, so we got to talk about it. I don't think Boho likes me, so I think he's caught wind in the last year and a half when I kind of like said some nasty, not great, disparaging things about him, and I have a feeling the dude doesn't like it.
You do have the jersey. He's got to respect it.
I tagged him on Instagram. He like there's one of the dude apparently in Bills Mafia that has his jersey. He reshared his, but didn't reshare mine. So I have a pretty good feeling that the dude doesn't like me.
Yeah, but and the thing is too, so like if you think about it, Beane is really good at going out and finding talent, wherever. How
about this one? How about this one on Gene?
Yeah, exactly.
Players are going to want to come to Buffalo.
Yeah, people are going to want to come here now because this team is amazing. People are going to want to play on this offense from now on. I think, finding, running backs are going to be good at tight end. We could probably find a tight end that's going to want to be like, yeah, I want to play with a tight end at quarterback. Right. So, and Beane can find people, John Brown was an amazing find. He got him fairly cheap. He's at the end of his career, but who cares? He's been very productive for us. Cole Beasley was probably the steal of that offseason. He's been insanely productive in the slot for us. Yeah. I don't think Beane will find a way to get talent around Josh. So I think the team will be better. Maybe not next year, but at some point, I think this team will be better than it is right now while Josh Allen is still kind of at his peak.
Yeah, David Simons, thank you for the super chat. Your comment's not there, so get your comment in and I'll read it. We'll part the Red Sea for David. So David, if you've got a comment or a question, please get it in, and I will absolutely read it. Moving to the defensive play of this football game on Sunday. They played it perfect in the sense of, well, we're going to do our best to stop the run, which they did their best to stop the run, and we're going to make Phillip Rivers beat us. Phillip, you're gonna have to beat us. And he damn near did. And part of the reason that he damn near did is because they were running tight end crossing streams, mid-level tight end crossing streams, but patterns all day long, and nobody could cover it. Mm-hmm. What was the breakdown?
For me, it was, like I said, I had a great view of the plays developing and everything. I was watching Rivers' eyes scan the field, and it was honestly just like, yep, there's this guy. Yep, there's this guy. And every time it was those shallow crossing routes. We were just getting destroyed on those the entire game. And it was because the first half we were running some zone coverage, and which I thought was probably the right move. But Phillip Rivers is a very smart quarterback. He's a seasoned veteran. He knows what to look for out there. And especially with a zone coverage, he's going to find the soft spots and he's going to know where to put the ball. And he was on. His throws were right on point for the most part. He didn't miss very many throws. Mm-hmm. So, when you've got when you're going against a guy like that, it's tough. So Frazier said, okay, we're going to switch up and go to man. We got to trust our guys to cover in man-to-man coverage because otherwise Phillip Rivers is going to tear us up, breaking down the zone. It's not a terrible strategy. You got to, you trust in your guys, but then they instantly switched over to, okay, they're running man. We got plays for that. And a lot of the time they were just running their guys off. Sometimes they do a 10-yard dig over top or something like that. A lot of the times it was just a shallow cross, a natural pick play, and the whoever was in man coverage, whether it be a linebacker or the slot corner, because they ran it out of the slot with Pascal a lot as well.
Right.
It didn't really matter because he was open every time. And, Phillip Rivers, it was an easy throw for him. He didn't have to throw it more than 5 yards on those. And he was getting big completions out of it. And another thing is they were killing us on third downs. It felt like
they have not been good this year. They've not been good on third down this year.
Yeah, and it felt like every time there was a big third down, they kept on converting on them, and it was a real backbreaker. And it extended their drives, and they were killing us. I think they still killed us overall in time of possession in that game. And that's because they kept on converting on those third downs, and they ran well enough. In the first half, we stopped it pretty well. They were getting smaller chunks, but there was really nothing happening in the first half. And then, there were some breakout runs once the defense got gassed in the second half. But
yeah, for sure. Rashid Turner, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being a part of the show. We need to fix the trenches. So building an O-line of replacements, we need to cut Jerry Hughes in the offseason, set the line of scrimmage. First of all, the O-line isn't bad. The O-line that we have, they need a guard, so they need somebody to play on the other side of Feliciano that can run block, because I'm not sure Ike Bucker is the guy. Darrell Williams is going to get re-signed. He's been the unsung hero of this entire team. Feliciano, I got to think they're going to re-sign. Morris isn't necessarily going anywhere. There might be a restructure in his future. And then Dawkins just re-signed. So your left guard is the need as far as that offensive line goes. And if they can figure out a way to get an RB1 that fits what they want to do, or what they feel this O-line can best run block to, the O-line is pretty much what they need to be. I was watching Jerry Hughes in this football game. Literally, it's funny that this is one of the super chat that came up. I think he's got juice left. I don't think it's a situation where they're going to give him $12 million a year, but I think Jerry, he's become a leader on this team with the absence of Lorenzo. I think he's going to want to stick around. Like, I think that, I don't know that Jerry goes anywhere. I think he's got some, and I don't mean like 50% of the snaps or 60%. Maybe it gets reduced to 30%. And he's a situational pass rusher. Thoughts?
I mean, I think so. I like Jerry Hughes. He's a leader of the defense too. He can get hot-headed sometimes and get himself a personal foul.
He hasn't this year, though.
That's true. He has been pretty level-headed, and he's the veteran guy. He's the only guy left from the pre-McDermott Bean era. Yep. And so he's kind of like the core of. He knows that pain and suffering more than anyone else on the team, of those bad years of bad culture and bad play. So I think that he is still a good player. I do still think he has juice. I think he's going to have to stop relying so much on his natural ability and start to play a little bit smarter. Because I do think that sometimes he's like, I can still do this, but he's just, he's not quite at that level that he used to be. So I think he needs to start playing a little more with his brain as opposed to with his muscles.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network. And there are 400 plus people. There's 363 people on YouTube. This is what I would tell you. Hump those likes, first of all. Jump on the like button, get our metrics up. I've got 134 likes on YouTube. That's not going to work for us. So literally, and it just went from 134 to 132. I don't know how that happens, but whatever. 144. Keep it coming. So there's 360 of you. I want to see at least a couple 250 likes to get our metrics up. Here's the thing. The comments are hauling. Like, I can't keep up at this point. Like 405 of you, and I just can't keep up. So if you've got something you want to get through, super chat us, get over to YouTube. If you got a comment or a question you want to ask, get over to YouTube. Just throw in a buck. It's not going to kill you to throw in a buck. Yes, if not, the comment section is where you want to be anyway, because that's where Bills Mafia is, and Bills Mafia is excited. We're amped. We've got a whole bunch of Ravens fans. We got a whole bunch of RATBIRD fans up in here tonight, which we've been riding the opposing team in the chat thing for about the last 7 or 8 weeks. It started with the Dolphins. When the Dolphins got put to it in and he kind of got hot, all of a sudden Dolphins fans started showing up, and we've been surviving it pretty well ever since kind of that. So, but I've got another super chat here. Go ahead.
Before you bring that up, David Stymus, who sent in a super chat with no text, he did comment after I went back and looked for it. He said, "What do you think we're going to do at running back? Do you want to address that now, or wait till we get into more of the Ravens game talk?"
No, go ahead. Give me your thoughts.
For me, I think they're going to go with Yeldon, honestly. Singletary's obviously going to be the running back, RB1. Yeldon's the guy who's got experience. We know he's got experience with pass blocking, which I think is going to be big against a heavy blitzing team like the Ravens. He's going to be able to see those things that maybe Williams is not quite.
Yeldon, right?
Yes, I'm talking Yeldon. Yeah, we'll be able to see these things. Yeldon will be able to see some things that maybe Williams isn't quite accustomed to yet. He might not be able to see, it's okay, this guy's coming here. I got to fill the gap over here. I got to get over to that side quick. Yeldon's going to have that knowledge where I think Williams might be lacking a little bit. So he's going to be up there, the number one guy that's going to be brought up at least. And then I think if they're able to open up an extra spot on the roster, they might try to put Williams in there as well. I do think he's a hard runner. I'd like to see him get touches, but just maybe now that it's in the playoffs in a winner go home situation, it might not be the right time. I think maybe you wait till next year, get him some preseason reps and see what he can do then. I do think he's going to be a good running back, but it just might not be the right time for him.
Yeah, and Yeldon. So the things about Yeldon, Daryl Williams is on the injury report, and I think he was limited. So if he cannot go, Yeldon is going to play special teams. Here's the thing about Yeldon. So we're playing a blitz heavy defense, and what is one of the best ways to beat a blitz? Screen. And TJ Yeldon has not been a traditional carry the football out of the backfield running back his entire career. He is, if you played fantasy football when he was with the Jaguars, you picked him up because he would get, it was a PPR league, and he would get 4 or 5 catches a game, and hopefully he'd break one for 30 or 40 yards and get you 10 points and a touchdown. Yes, the reason that Yeldon plays in this football game is because he is an option, a big option when it comes to screenplays. He's also bigger, to your point, than Singletary. So he's more able to pick up the blitz. He's not going to get trucked. Not that Singletary gets trucked. Singletary holds his own, but Moss is a little bit of a better blocker, which is why Moss plays a little more. But yes, so that's a great super chat. Thank you for the question, David. Skeptic Goat, thank you for the super chat. Ravens fan here. You guys have a stud quarterback and a good team. Should be a fun one. Does anything about the Ravens make you nervous? Yes.
Yes. It's a very good team. For me, the immediate thing, because I saw the comment earlier as I was looking through, the immediate things that came to my mind, Lamar Jackson and the corners are the two things that scare me the most. I know that the defensive front is very good. I'm not as concerned about it for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I think our offensive line's pretty good. The pass pro this year has been very good. Josh has had a lot of time, and he's a more developed quarterback. He can see things happening a lot better. He can read the blitzes much better than he could last year, and he's going to know more so this year as opposed to last year where to put the ball when he sees a blitz coming.
They're not going to blitz him. The numbers say that he's worse the longer he's in the pocket. So the idea is to hold your assignments, hold your gaps, and contain him and give him a nice little arc to stay in that pocket, because if he's in there for 3 or 4 seconds, his completion percentage and his quarterback rating drops through the floor. I agree with you. To me, the first things I think are not it's Jackson for sure, and the second thing for me is Mark Andrews, because the Bills we're back to it. They were having a hard time covering tight ends early. They covered it up, fixed it, and then teams kind of got away from it and didn't want to challenge us. And then the Colts just brought it back out and exposed it. For me, that's a huge concern for this Buffalo Bills team. I think personally that our guys can get open. I think their cornerbacks, their defensive backfield is good, like very good. But I think if you're asking 4 guys to cover Gabe Davis, obviously Stephon Diggs, John Brown, and Cole Beasley for an entire football game with a dude that likes to get flushed and play backyard football, I think you're asking a lot. I'm not saying that the Bills are going to roll them, but I think we can win that matchup. I'm really concerned about Jackson and that tight end. So Skeptic, go ahead.
Yeah, Jackson is so athletic. I went back and watched some of the Jackson film from this season. I went back and watched the Bills game from last season. He's such a crazy athlete. The quick cuts he makes, the back end speed, he's incredible. The corners, for me, the only reason I'm nervous is because those guys were playing with a lot of passion last weekend. They were not letting guys get open. The windows were tight. Josh can make those throws, and I think our wide receivers have a better ability to get open. But they still worry me because they are elite corners. So
yeah, for sure. Rated G, thank you for the super chat. Why haven't we played aggressive defense consistently like we did versus Seattle? If we made Wilson have 4 turnovers, why not try it versus lesser QBs? They can't get home. The reality is this defensive line, the defense is predicated on 4-man pressure, and then obviously the occasional creative blitz, which we saw. That was third quarter when the Bills, maybe it was fourth quarter, when they started running Taron Johnson on those blitzes off the end. They just, for whatever reason, the Bills have struggled all season long getting home. That Seattle game was the outlier. Would you agree? That was the outlier game.
Yeah, absolutely. Their offensive line is not strong. One of the weaker ones in the league, and the game plan was very good. Be aggressive, get Russell Wilson rattled, and that's exactly what they did, and it worked. Yep, absolutely. And I would, on top of that, the Colts game plan, and I said this in my pod, was the perfect game plan to beat the Bills. They had the perfect game plan to beat the Bills, and they almost pulled it off. Yep. They're an inferior team. They had the perfect game plan. Eric, thank you for the super chat. And this one's worth $20. So yes, please cover Andrews. I don't care if you got to double cover the dude. I'm more worried about Mark Andrews than Hollywood Brown. Have Trey follow Hollywood Brown all over the field, double cover Andrews, and let the chips fall where they may. Let
give Lamar the opportunity to hit anybody else he wants, but those two guys, right? And keep them in the pocket. That to me is so tight end matchup is a concern. McDermott knows how to defense against Lamar, run with containment, but Hurst is gone, thank God. So their second big tight end is gone. They have another one, but Hurst is gone. And Doyle did beat us against the Colts. Offense will show, but D is what we need to stop and take the W 30-21. So this was what I said on the Built in Buffalo show when I was just in the comment section, because I hang out in the comment sections just like you guys all do. For me, because somebody made the comment that the Bills offense needed to play stellar. And I was like, wait a minute. How does an offense that is averaging 30 plus points a game play stellar? Like, are you wanting them to score 50 in this football game? Like, no, to me, the answer is play your offense, get your 30, and have the defense play stellar. And then, keep them to 20 or 21 or 14. That's how you win this football game. Thank you for the super chat. Eric, you are the guy. I think I'm caught up. If I missed the super chat, please somebody yell at me and let me know, because again, there's 450 people in here now.
I think you are. I think you're good. I'll touch on that as well, Eric.
Go ahead.
Let you get your $20 worth here.
Nice.
But I agree. Andrews, double cover him. Do an under over type of a thing. If he's out in that area, have Milano just kind of hang out underneath, and then have a safety kind of hovering over top just in case. And then get Trey White. Have Trey White follow Hollywood. That's what I think this is. Doesn't usually follow. He's going to follow this week. I think he's going to follow Hollywood around because that's the guy. That's the guy who wants to throw to. And then I kind of agree. I think the Bills. Honestly, I think the best strategy and the best way to play defense against the Ravens is to score early. If you score early, it forces them to throw more often, which is what their much weaker aspect of their game is. And so that's what you want to do. Get out to an early lead, make them throw the ball. That's what the Chiefs did. That's what the Bills need to do, and be able to slow that run game down a little bit.
I think this is Aaron Quinn. Aaron, thank you for being a part of the show. We can't give up easy touchdowns. Make the Birds earn those scores, grind them out. This is true. And I think there's an aspect to not getting over anxious about Mark Andrews maybe having a 140-yard game, or their run game, gaining 160 yards. At the end of the day, we've watched it all season. It's not about what happens in the middle of the game or during the game or who gets what yards. It's literally about the final score and who's scoring points. So Spence made a great point on Sunday. He was just like, man, it really is something to watch when you're here. And for where we were sitting, we were on like the 45, so we were right in the middle. He's like, they literally do, they play that bend but don't break so well. They give up everything between the 20s. And once you get to the 20, they house you, they close you out, and they make it very, very difficult to AQ's point. So thank you for being a part of the show, Quinny. Appreciate you. So we have officially transitioned to the Ravens game, even though there was no real transition to the Ravens game. But it's going to be an interesting football game as far as I just want to reiterate again to the 450 people that are watching this thing right now, enjoy this football game. And not only this one, the next one too. And if we win that one, really enjoy the next one. Like, every freaking game from here on out is a gift, and enjoy what you get to watch. Enjoy seeing football teams, good to great football teams, struggle to beat this Buffalo Bills team, or good to great football teams get beat by this football team. Like, the Bills have turned the page. The next step in the evolution of this franchise is to play a game like this against the Ravens, a team like that, and to beat them. And if they don't beat them, they're going to learn something, which is going to help them next year. So that's my little soapbox. Adrian Marston, thank you for the super chat. Rewatched the 49ers game, and Singletary actually had a good running game. Moss fumbled, so he barely played. Yeah, he fumbled on the very first play in the end zone. Maybe that's a preview of what Singletary can do when he carries the load solo. There's something to be said for rhythm. And there's something to be said for Singletary when he's in a rhythm and when he's not in a rhythm. That's the same thing about the pass game. When I chirp about the Bills being a pass-first offense, they need to establish the pass because that's what sets the tone for them. This is absolutely true. Singletary, and you can talk about it, to me, Singletary will play better due to the fact that he's going to get more carries.
Yeah, I agree. And while I'm talking, scroll back up. We missed one super chat from Reed. So just make sure you catch that one. So I agree. I went back and watched the Yeah, no problem. I went back and watched the Ravens game last year, the Bills Ravens game last year. Singletary actually had a really good game that week, and I think he's a good running back. We just haven't really seen a lot of him, and I'm not sure if it's the offensive line. I don't know if it's the play calling. I'm not really sure what it is. I mean, the guards are different. Well, I mean, they were different earlier. I mean, we got Feliciano back, so I'm not really sure exactly what it is, why we're having such trouble running the ball. But I do think that Singletary's he's a good running back. He can definitely have a good game. And the screen game is something that we're gonna see. Like Joe said, that's how you beat blitzes a lot. So we're gonna see the screen game, and he's done well with screens before. We've seen him take a screen for 20 plus yards a couple times before. So
against the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, that was a great play. And once he gets into open space, he's so shifty that he makes 1-2 guys miss. He's got a decent chunk of yards. I think I have complete confidence in Devin Singletary to have a good game. And now that he's the guy, I think that gives him a little bit more juice. I think now that there's no one else there, it's kind of like, okay, this is my game. I'm going to go out and play.
Yeah. So this one is from Reed. Reed, thanks for the super chat. Thoughts on Dable interviewing with the Jets? If he takes that job or the Texans job, it's career suicide, or the Lions job.
Yeah, I mean the Jets.
I have no thoughts.
Yeah, I don't care who the Jets are drafting number 1 or number 2 at quarterback. I don't care, or if they keep Sam Darnold. You can't go there. You can't go to the Jets, and I don't even think he would want to. He grew up in Buffalo. He's a Bills fan, and now was the coach for the Bills.
He was in New England forever.
I mean, that's true. But I think that was probably because that's where the opportunity was. He got to play. He got to coach under one of the best of all time coaches. Now, when it's kind of his thing, he's going to get other offers. In my opinion, I think he's going to end up going to the Chargers. Would be my guess.
Mike Z, thank you for the super chat. Lamar couldn't even throw for 200 on the Titans, and their D is terrible. We'll see. This is probably going to set itself up as a football game where he's not even going to try to throw 200 on us. They're probably going to run the ball a whole lot in this football game. Domo Iverson, thank you for the super chat. Need to man up and scheme pressure to put Lamar in design traps. Not worried about Inglewood Brown. I'll take you that one, or I'll let you take that one rather.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, man defense, I'm completely fine with I'm completely fine with just putting Trey on Hollywood and kind of
Inglewood. Is that supposed to be Hollywood?
Maybe, yeah. I think that's kind of a play on like he's not Hollywood, he's Inglewood. I kind of like that. Yeah, they need to put Trey on Hollywood, give him an over the top help, as a safety net. And I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. But yeah, man up, pressure scheme. I don't know about pressure. It's hard to pressure Lamar because if you overcommit, which we've seen our defensive ends do a fair amount, if you overcommit, then that's bad news and he's going to beat you up. So I think it's more about contain. I think that's the name of the game for this week for the defense is man up and contain. And you can run some zone with it. You can blitz every once in a while, but I don't think it's a smart idea to frequently blitz Lamar Jackson. Even the Titans, they're not much of a pass rush team, and they were still able to get to Lamar just fine. Not rushing that many, rushing 4 or 5. So I think the Bills are going to be able to do that as well. And it's more important to, keep him bottled up more than put pressure on him so much.
Do we want to have a conversation about, as much as I'm the guy sitting here soapboxing to 500 people that, Bills Mafia needs to enjoy this football game and take it in, soak it in, understand how far we've come, relish the moment, like you and I did on Sunday at the game, like just soak it in and just soak the environment in and just understand that the world is watching and it's 8:15 on Saturday night. It's not 8:15 on Sunday night. It's 8:15 on Saturday night, and just understand what it is, the Bills play well under the lights and take it all in. And at the same time, do I need to bring up what you just said to piggyback off that? This is an over pursuing defense, right? So this is a defense that is historically and even still over pursues. And oh, by the way, it's also a defense that likes to body check guys instead of wrapping them up and tackle. You're not going to body check Mark Andrews to the ground. You're not going to tackle his shoulders and get him to the ground. You're not going to body check Lamar Jackson to the ground, and you're not going to be able to shoulder tackle Lamar Jackson.
Not to mention their running backs either, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. You're not going to shoulder those guys either. They're going to make you pay if you do that.
So for me, if I'm getting pissed off in this football game and angry, it's because the Bills are doing just that. They're playing the defensive ends are doing what they did against the Titans. Jerry Hughes was the big offender against the Titans, where he was being led inside, and every time he got led inside, freaking Tannehill would leak outside, and then he'd hit somebody wide open. And like if that stuff, if they are not disciplined, if they don't stay where they're supposed to stay and keep him in the pocket, it's going to get ugly fast. And I'm not saying the Bills would lose. it's just going to get ugly fast, in my opinion. So I don't know if you've got a feeling or a thought to that. But.
Yeah, and I think being able to watch last year's game kind of helped me appreciate the ability to contain. And I think Shaq Lawson and Trent Murphy both did a very good job of that. But for them, Shaq Lawson kind of became that guy eventually, where he was the run stopper, and he did a very good job of going where he was supposed to go and staying there and not letting you pass him. And I think that that's exactly what our defensive ends need to do. I don't know if Addison's going to be able to do it. I don't know. I don't think Hughes is going to be able to do it. He's just too much of a pure pass rusher to, I think, have the discipline to be able to stop himself and play contain. I think if there's an extra spot, they might put Murphy in because he did play well against the Ravens last year. Yeah. So I think Murphy over Williams if Darrell Johnson can't play. But yeah, contain is going to be such a huge part. The defensive ends and Tremaine Edmonds also had a fantastic game last year. He did a really good job of covering up the running back lane while we allowed the defensive ends to force Lamar Jackson back inside. And when they tried to get outside, they did a good job of forcing him backward at the same time.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network. And apparently Baltimore Ravens fans are either bored tonight or they don't have good content in Baltimore. So like good alternative content like we do in Buffalo. Nick, I love this question. If you scheme to stop Lamar in our perimeter run game, Andrews is eating all up over the middle. Trey and S on Hollywood. I don't know. Trey and safety. Yeah, on Hollywood. I don't think he needs safety help on Hollywood, but you may think he does, but I don't. How are the Bills stopping our power run game up the middle with JK and Gus? Here's the thing. The Bills have we have asked this question all season long. How are the Bills going to stop Josh Jacobs? How are the Bills going to stop Derrick Henry? How are the Bills going to stop? And it goes on and on and on. And the only running back that we really didn't stop, and it was by design, was Edwards-Helaire. He was the only guy this whole season, and we were all worried. And even this past weekend, Jonathan Taylor did not destroy us. Yes, late in the game, there were some gap assignments that were missed, and even the other kid, I forget, Naheem Hines, got loose. But by and large, the Bills have been, as much as we've worried about it, all the content creators have worried about it in Buffalo. Well, all of us around the nation, because we're not all in Buffalo. As much as we've worried about it, the reality is the Bills have done a decent job. If they've focused on the run game outside of that Chiefs game, they've done a good job of soaking up other people's run games. So you can jump on that or not.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's kind of funny how we're always like our run defense is weak. And if you look at the numbers, you're right. Our run defense has struggled statistically. We're not that good. We're not up there with those teams that can stop the run
between the 20s.
Yeah, exactly. But for some reason, whenever we go against kind of premier running teams or running backs, we're able to stop them to a certain extent. I mean, Derrick Henry didn't do well against us. I've argued for the whole season that that's just because AJ Brown was able to eat all day. But we still stopped him. He still had opportunities to run, and we held him in the backfield. Much like the Ravens were able to do last week. And then Mostert, we stopped Mostert. We stopped Josh Jacobs. We've been able to stop these guys when that's who we want to focus on. For me, you got to go in with a similar game plan as that you're going in against the New England Patriots with, and we've played them twice now. We played them a lot better the second time, obviously. So I think from a defensive standpoint, if you look at the things that we did against the Patriots, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what we're going to go ahead and do against the Ravens, because they're a run first team who I don't think if it resorts to them having to pass the ball to win the game, I don't think the Ravens are going to win the game because they're just not as efficient on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Richard Rush, my guy. How are the Ravens? And I love this because this is flipping the page. So it's not how are we going to beat them? This is literally how are the Ravens going to stop Allen, Diggs, Beasley, Smoke, and Davis? And oh, by the way, Singletary. I mean, because if you're focused on stopping Diggs, Beasley, Smoke, and Davis, I mean, Singletary is going to be open. And if he's not, then Allen is going to be running all over the field. He's going to be doing, I was going to say his best Lamar Jackson impression, but Allen is a running quarterback in his own right. He's earned that. He's earned those stripes for lack of a better way of saying it. Right. So, I mean, how do you see the Ravens stopping this football team? Because I said it earlier, I don't think their 3 or 4 cornerbacks are going to hang with our guys an entire game.
I agree. And I think weather will play into it. The weather's going to it's going to have a factor. If it snows, there will be changes, but I think those changes will affect both teams equally. I think it'll be a moot point if it snows. But we have really good route running wide receivers. Two of the best route runners in the league, I would argue, in Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs. And that's the kind of guys that you want to go and face up against man coverage. We've seen the Bills beat man coverage. Honestly, I think I prefer to see man coverage if I'm Josh Allen and I'm going out there and I see man, I'm a happy guy because he's been able to eat on man coverage. The first 4 weeks when Allen was really up there, and he's back into the conversation now. But when he was in the MVP conversation, where they're like, this guy's for real, those first 4 weeks he was averaging over 300 and playing out of his mind. Yep. He was facing almost exclusively man coverage, and they were killing him with the over routes, the crossing routes, deep routes. I mean, Stephon Diggs, and these are against good corners too. And we just saw week 17.
Xavier Howard and
and Byron Jones. I mean, if that's not, there's probably 2 teams that have like fantastic corner duos: the Ravens and the Dolphins.
And the Dolphins ones are better.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah. Xavier Howard is an absolute beast. Byron Jones is amazing. I think they're a little bit better, both of them, and they didn't have any problem running their routes and getting open against those guys.
Pretty sure they played man too.
Yes, they did play man
and got eight.
Yeah, they got beat up on it. And I think it comes down to a sense of confidence throwing the ball from Josh. The windows aren't going to be big, but they're going to be there at times because the route running is really good. So I think if Allen's confident, he's slinging the ball around, it's going to be really hard to stop him, especially since he's got 4 good options to throw the ball to.
I'm not. So Timothy Lewis, thank you for the super chat. I'm not. Sit Murphy and Roberts, activate Stills and Darren Lee. This is strategery at its finest, right? So the problem with Murphy is he played really well. What Murphy brings to the table, so integrity and staying where he's supposed to be, making sure that he doesn't give up his outside, as far as the end that he's trying to hold. He does very good at that. He doesn't over pursue a whole lot. He might play this football game. Like this might be a game where it's like, his skill set fits the best. I'm not so sure I'm activating Stills yet. I mean, if you're activating Stills, who you're sitting? I mean, I guess you're sitting Roberts in that case. Then McKenzie's doing the kickoffs and the punt returns, which is, it's not outside the realm of opportunity.
Health. Is he full health now? I know he had an ankle thing going on last week.
I would have to check. So let me check real quick. So and then you can talk about Darren Lee while I check. So
yeah, I mean Darren Lee, we have no idea what he's got to offer. The only people that know who Darren Lee is are the coaches and the players that are on the team, because we haven't seen any of Darren Lee yet for the most part. I don't even know has he gotten any snaps? I don't even know if he's gotten any in-game snaps on the defense. I know he's played a little bit
for the Bills. I don't think so, but he also was the worst linebacker in Dallas, and no, McKenzie is not on the injury report.
Okay, then if McKenzie's fine, sit Roberts. I don't know. Roberts he's a Pro Bowl returner, and he usually is pretty good. He's kind of been a boom or bust lately on the returns. Yeah. But sure, McKenzie's good. McKenzie's capable.
Not really true boom or bust. He had one bad game. And they were, I mean, they played the field position game well, and they beat him. The problem is like Bills Mafia is so like, we don't like that guy. And then he plays 18 amazing games in a row, has one bad game. It's like, I told you I don't like that guy.
And he'll make, there are some times where he'll try to make a play and it won't go well. Maybe he'll only get to the 20 or, something like that. That's not terrible. I'd rather him take the chance on getting a play and getting us to the 30 or the 40, because he's done that and he's done it on a consistent basis. I mean, Stills, he's not ready. We're not going to see Devontae Freeman probably at all this season unless there's something crazy happens. Really, I think he's more of an emergency guy. If Singletary gets hurt, I think is really the reason he's around.
Rashid Turner, thank you for the super chat. I'm going to let you take this one because I don't know what he's talking. I think this is a young man's thing. What's he talking about here?
I don't know. I'm not sure what he's saying here.
I don't either.
No. Thanks for the $2 though.
I'd like some cookies too. So
I don't know. If you can explain that one in the comments, I'll try to look out for that one there. But I'm not.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching, as I've said many times, the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network. Do me a favor, whatever platform you're watching on, jump on that like button, hump it. We've got 207 likes on YouTube, 425 people on that platform, so we can do better. I believe we can do better, Bills Mafia. We appreciate all the super chats. We appreciate all the content. Here's the thing. This is what I would say. the scrolling content, the content room right now on YouTube is like aces. Like there's some serious content providers, Bills Mafia providers, content providers in there. So if you've got a question that we don't get to, I know for a fact it's getting answered and answered well. So the names that I've seen that are just kind of whipping through is impressive to say the least. So welcome to all those guys as well. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. I'm one of your co-hosts. The other one is Clay Troya. He's the guy sitting to my it's my left, right? So it's backwards. So it's always like he's right there. Wait, right there. Where it's always strange. Anyway, so let's do this. It's the top of the hour, and I think now is a good time to do the Manscaped read. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time now to talk about the Hump Day Hotline and who it's brought to you by. It is brought to you by Manscaped, and this is my co-host, Clay Troya for Manscaped.
Everyone likes dental hygiene. Everyone appreciates it.
Oh, no.
Even Diggs was flossing on the sidelines. But I promise you, none of your sexual partners want to get complimentary dental floss in their teeth from your genitals. So make sure those things are baby smooth as a baby's bottom by visiting manscaped.com, getting yourself that perfect package or the Lawnmower 3.0. And while you're there, they've got lotions, they've got deodorants, they've got boxers, they've got everything you could possibly need to take care of your family jewels. If your balls had a mouth, they would say thank you. Use code Fanatics and when you go there and check out and save yourself some money. Manscaped.
Every female in the chat just gagged a little bit. Anyways, yes, ladies and gentlemen, all of the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube and multicast content is brought to you by Manscaped. And if you jump over to manscaped.com right now, we're going to give you 20% off. If you use the promo code Fanatics, we're going to give you 20% off and free shipping. I am a Manscaped user. I use Manscaped. I wear the boxers, and I have that entire kit that you see right there. It's fantastic. If I'm not mistaken, you can get this shipped to you, this kit that you're seeing right now on your screen. If you put in the code Fanatics, 20% off, you'll get it for $80 shipped to your house, and it is well worth it. And once you start wearing the boxers, you won't go back. Trust me on that one. So
I actually do have a pair of the boxers now, and I can finally agree with that statement. So
nice. Somebody is saying I'm confused. Caitlin, come on. Caitlin.
We're disappointed, Caitlin.
I'm not taking that dare or that challenge.
Oh,
luckily, Matthew Montgomery has jumped in just in time. Thank you for the super chat, Matthew. Thank you for getting me out of that one. I like how everyone is off the Bills bandwagon this week in the media. You would think Baltimore blew the doors off Tennessee last week. It's true. Yeah, we are no longer the cool kids on the block. Have you noticed it?
Yeah, definitely. I think the national media is I feel like a lot of people are leaning toward the Ravens now. And maybe that's just because we're kind of I think we got used to being top dog a little bit because, I watched the pregame, the game preview that the NFL, the official NFL YouTube page posted. And I think 7 out of the 10 guys still picked the Bills to win the game. So, I still think people are thinking that we're going to win, but there's something about the Ravens that the national media just loves. And I think it's those explosive plays of athleticism. I mean, the Bills have the same thing. But people love Lamar. He's a former MVP. And they are a great team. They are fun to watch. When Lamar is playing as well as he does, when he's on fire, he is really fun to watch. He's an electric player. So I don't blame the national media. And I think it is going to be a really good game. So, we'll see. We'll see if they jump back on next week.
Yeah, the funny thing is like, so when you talk about the apex of teams and how they want to, you want to peak at the right time, the Bills' arc has kind of been like this heading into the playoffs, starting at about week 8, week 9, and the Ravens starting at about, week 12 have been this.
Right.
So it makes sense. I mean, they're trending in the right direction on all fronts at exactly the right time. And they beat a very good Titans football team that they kind of had a grudge match with. So the chat is blown up about people taking their shots. And
yeah.
I appreciate it, Caitlin. To be honest with you, I have shown the top of them to Jay Spence's demise on this show before that say Manscaped across the front. So I'm not above it. I've done it before. It's just not happening today. So Phil Lawson, aka Flosson, thank you for the super chat. With Lamar's skill set, how much of an impact will Klein be able to make? Will they be playing 3 linebackers a lot more? I don't think so. The Bills are a 2 linebacker nickel based set. I mean, that's pretty much what they play. I didn't see a lot of Klein on this past week, and between Jake or Jack Doyle and what was the other one? Something Cox. The other guy, their other big tight end, the other big tight end. I didn't see a ton of AJ Klein in there to cover. Not to mention AJ Klein isn't much of a covering linebacker, but do you have a thought about that?
Yeah, I think if anything, they're going to put in an extra, a bigger man. Maybe, maybe Saran Neal gets some reps. Maybe Dean Marlowe gets some reps. They're going to put someone that's a bigger defensive back, I think, back there, because you need to have guys that are athletic. They can run side to side on the field to stop a team like the Ravens, who will use the entire width of the field behind the line of scrimmage. So they're going to get side to side, and as soon as they find that gap, they're going to shoot it. So you need guys that can cover laterally.
Yeah. Let's do this. So we've got a little bit of time left. Clay, thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate you, sir. Oh my gosh, there's one coming that's hilarious. Elliot, man. I watch both screens because there's a delay on the platform. So I have like both of them mirrored next to each other. I do not have an OnlyFans yet. I'll just say that.
Great name, though. If you ever start one, that's got to be the name.
Joe Miller, Unwired. Mo Alley Cox was the name that I was looking for. Thank you, Eric. Yes, you were the man. Yeah. With a name like Mo Alley Cox, you think you'd remember it because it kind of rolls up like Mo. Like it's one of those cool three name names, like Peoples Jones. Like Dominic Peoples Jones is kind of a cool one. So let's do this. Let's take the remaining time here for a couple more minutes to just see what questions people have. They've asked a bunch of questions. We've gotten to it, and I'll do the best I can to find some. And if you see one that I love you too, bro. If you see one that you want to throw up, get my attention on it. But if you've got a question in the chat or a comment that you want to make about the football game, and if you're a Ravens fan, if you're a RATBIRDS fan, and you've got a comment or a question that you want to ask us, I'm not beyond putting that up either. Just be nice, be gentlemanly or gentleman lady like. I don't see anything necessarily yet, but I'm a little bit slow. Here we go. They just popped in. Ombre Lob says, who is the one Bills player the Ravens don't know that they should worry about?
I mean, on the offensive side, they should know.
That's a great question.
Yeah, they should know Gabe Davis's name by now. I think he's probably the guy. I think he's a guy that can do a lot of damage, and when you have two good, corners that are probably going to be covering, my guess is John Brown and Stephon Diggs. I don't think they throw one of those guys in the slot to cover Beasley. Usually, I don't know who their nickel corner is, but I'm sure he's the one that's going to be on Beasley. Gabe Davis on the outside, he's bigger and more physical than both of those guys, so it's a little bit of a change of pace. And like I said, the weather could affect things. Maybe I think if we get snow, I think Gabe Davis would probably be the one guy that I would say is going to have the best day out of all the wide receivers. Yeah.
What's funny is Monty brings up the guy that I would pick. I think John Brown is the guy kind of sliding under the radar right now. I think Gabe Davis Beasley is Beasley, Diggs is Diggs, and Gabe Davis has made a name for himself. I think right now the guy that people aren't necessarily thinking about is John Brown. And that drop that he had where the ball went right straight through his hands was important. And that's such a big drop, but for all intents and purposes,
I think he'll be okay. There's one more person I want to bring up that I thought about earlier, and I think he might be able to have a good game, and that's AJ Epinesa. I think we should watch out for him because he's become lighter, leaner, more athletic. I think he might be built to kind of be a somewhat of a contained man. We could see him do pretty well as long as he stays disciplined. I don't know if he ever played, a lot of read option teams in college, but read option's more common in college. If he did see it, he might be more used to it. He could be kind of a key player. I feel like we might be saying his name a little bit.
Yeah, this is a good question. Bills over 34 points on Saturday.
It's a tough one. That's a good over/under, honestly, because if they're on, and they might hit that pretty easily. I'm going to say probably under. The defense is good. I think it's going to be kind of a grudge match. Honestly, I think it's going to be a close one regardless. So probably I'll take the under on that.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna. My heart wants to take the over, right? Because again, it's what I said before. If you're a team that averages 30 plus points, and this is a team, as much as the Ravens fans are gonna be like, oh my God, like you Buffalo Bills fans are so overconfident. This is a team that has averaged over 30 points against the best defenses in the league. So this isn't like we're just like, oh yeah, we trotted out there against crappy teams and we put up 30 points on them. No, this offense is good. If the Bills are the Bills, and they can put up 35, 36, somewhere around there, it makes this game a whole lot easier to win. It's literally going to come down to, for me, how that offense sees, how Josh Allen sees that defense, and whether or not, if they're giving him man looks with blitzes, it could be a long day for the Ravens. It literally could be a long day for the Ravens, because and that's what the Ravens fans in the chat don't know about this team, is that every time anybody's tried to do that against the Buffalo Bills, blitz him hard and play man, he's eating them alive. And then what happened against the 49ers and the Steelers is they switched to zone, and Allen still kept eating them alive. So once he finds his rhythm, it becomes a really, really big problem for teams. I mean, I'm not trying to boast. I'm not trying to pretend like my football team is something it's not. That's just the facts. Like, it literally is just who this team is. Under the radar, Motor, best offensive player in the Texans game last year, used him on screens to beat the blitz. Yeah, it's going to be between him and Yeldon is what we think right now.
Yep. So someone brought up Jimmy Smith, I think, is the third corner on the Ravens. He's good too. So, Jimmy Smith on Beasley might be a matchup to watch. I hope Bees is, closer at least to 100%, because he was super beat up last game. So hopefully he's feeling better. But I don't know. They do have three pretty good corners. I think Peters is hurt though at the moment.
I actually don't know. He played that football game.
Yeah, he did. I think one of their corners, I feel like I remember being hurt. I could be wrong.
I say if we hold the Baltimore Ravens to less than 200 rushing yards, we win. Yes, because I think they're going to come into this football game and run heavy. So I think that's what they're going to focus on, which we've seen a lot against the Bills lately, and it has not worked. A lot of teams have come in and tried to be run focused, and it has not worked against them. So you guys are awesome tonight. Bills Mafia is just bringing, you can feel the energy. Like, you can absolutely, there's still 430 people watching this.
Brian saying Marlon Humphrey will be on Beasley. I'm fine with that. Open things up for Brown and Davis. Those guys can eat too. If you want to put the lesser guys on them, that's the great thing about having 4 good wide receivers is go ahead, pick who you want to put your best guys on. They can still get open against your best guys, and we still have good receivers beside those guys that you decide to put your best guys on. So.
Yeah, absolutely. La 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 la. That's me singing. Sorry. Just to follow up, Monty Campbell just followed. Brown came from the Ravens. Possible big game situation against former team, and that's always an understated thing. So players always come out. It's funny to me that these guys need to be amped up, or they need to have more motivation to play football games. But yes, it seems like they do. Players come in more motivated to show their former team what they've got. So that is something that possibly needs to be talked about. So here's somebody else saying that Peters is hurt.
Yep. I was saying he's got a back injury, so that could play into it a little bit.
James Massey says we've played against mobile quarterbacks this year. So what's the chance Buffalo shuts down Lamar? That's the goal.
I don't think you can shut down Lamar. You can slow him down. I've said this about other guys as well. And I said this when we were going up against Patrick Mahomes. You can't shut him down, but you can slow him down. And as long as we can limit the big plays that he creates, he's going to get out for a couple of runs. And it's going to be discouraging, but he's going to get a couple of those runs, 15, 20, 25. He's going to get a couple of those. He's going to be able to break free because he's shifty and he's fast. So it's about limiting the amount of times that he's able to do that. If we see more 5 yard, 6 yard, 7 yard runs from him, I'm going to be happy, even though that's kind of, those are still big chunks for runs. As long as he's not breaking away and getting 20 yards, I'm going to be happy.
Dude, Clay bringing it up in here. Clay's bringing the fire tonight. Not that you don't bring it every night. You do. So Flossin, this is something that coming into the show, and just so everybody knows, tonight was the first night that I did not send notes to Clay. This was the first time that we did not kind of pre-plan what we're going to talk about. I was like, let's just wing it, bro. I was like, let's get you on here early and wing it. And he was like, that's an amazing idea. So that's what we've done. But this was leading up in the hours before, as I was kind of thinking and processing through what I kind of wanted to talk about tonight. This was one of those things. I honest to God believe that this football game is going to come down to turnovers. I literally believe that it could be 1, it could be 2-1, it could be 2-0, but this game is going to come down to who makes the turnover, not even at the wrong time, but who gives the ball up. To me, it's just going to be that game. Like, the Bills are going to have to play a super clean game and not give the ball away. Unless the Ravens match it. If the Bills have 3 turnovers, they have 3 turnovers. Unless it's matched. But whoever wins the turnover battle, to me, this is probably the most important part of this football game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Were there any turnovers in last week's game? I don't think there were.
Well, there was one.
Well, there was one. Officially, were there any turnovers? According to the refs on the field.
Everybody in America knows that there was one, except for the one referee. Even the other refs, like the dudes that were back in New York and the different places, like
Gene Steratore was like, that's
yeah, all of them. Yeah, know that it was turnovers and special teams. And we haven't talked. It has not been talked about enough, that Colts game. That why did the Bills look the way they look, or why did they this, or why did they that? Dude, field position was a huge factor. The Buffalo Bills are a completely different football team when they're starting at their 40 and when they're starting at their 4. Like completely different football team. And I when I watched the game back, I watched it twice, and I clued in on it yesterday when I watched it back. And it was the second quarter, and the announcer said, "This is the best field position the Bills have had all game," and it was like the 14-yard line. And I was like, man, it's hard to play football that way. It's hard to stay in your game plan. It's hard to, as much as we've seen Josh Allen play backyard football from the end zone, the Dallas Cowboys game last year on Thanksgiving, and he did it in this game as well. That's not really what you want him doing, because a holding penalty end zone is a safety. So like you want to avoid that as much as you possibly can. So
there's a couple super chats. I don't know if you got to him. Mike Z, did you get him? He's up further, and then there's another one.
Protect our dirt. So Mike,
and then there's one. Yep, there you go.
Mike, so go ahead and read it. You're good.
So Bills are 5-0 against top 5 Ds. That's they're killing them. But top 7, I think we've beat almost all of them. I think we lost to maybe one of them. Ravens only scored 20 points against the Titans defense. RIP Ravens. I mean, the Bills play good. Josh Allen's, he's never gonna back away from any challenge. He's done very well against top 5 passing defenses. He definitely could do the same, but it's just because he's done it before doesn't mean he can necessarily do it again. But at least he has that confidence. He knows that he can do it, and we know that he can do it as well. But yeah, I mean, stopping is, as long as if we can keep the Ravens to 20 points, I think we win the game.
Yeah, I don't even need to add anything. That was well said. Protect our dirt. Thanks for the super chat. Allen's calling rhythm is more important. Are you talking? I'm guessing he's speaking of his cadence. Yes, his calling rhythm. So yeah, he's he's had a propensity to pull people off sides for sure. He has become very clutch at seeing it and confirming it mid-play with the referees, which is a whole nother level from anybody that we've ever seen basically know that they've got a free play, because he's like, do I get a free play? And the ref's
he's always pointing, hey, go the flag.
But yes, his cadence is important, and it'll be interesting to see. It was funny because I don't remember what I was watching. They were talking about the fact that like in that Colts game, like Allen checked out of a play and checked back into it. So he checked. So he walked up to the line, saw the defense, checked out of the play. And then basically, it might have been from cover 1. I think Eric was talking about it. And then once the defense, and then they ran a man of motion, the defense adjusted to what they were going to do, and then he checked back into the play that he checked out of. So the dude he's just another level as far as reading defenses. Oh, and by the way, Ravens fans, he can throw outside the numbers, unlike your quarterback. But that's another conversation for another day.
And he has an offensive coordinator that can scheme throws inside the numbers. We've had Greg Roman too. Please remember.
Eric, thanks again for the super chat. Predictions for the game changer, and score. Man, that's 3. Eric, you're about to light up the chat the comment section for me. I'm not gonna be able to keep up with anything. Predictions for the game changer, and score. I'm gonna let you go first.
For me, prediction for the game. I mean, I'm going to say it's got to be something around, I'm going to say like 28-24 Bills. I think it's going to be a super tough game, tough sledding all the way through. I think the Bills are going to come out on top just because I think they have a more explosive defense in the passing game, which is just going to be more consistent in my opinion. I don't know. Game changer. I don't know who it's going to be, but if there will be a game changer, it'll be on the Bills defense. Who can contain Lamar Jackson? And it's going to be an edge rusher, a linebacker, whoever can make him hesitate, at least in the backfield, is going to be the guy that changes the game.
I can't remember who said it. Somebody said it. I think it was on Monday. I was listening to this, and I consume a lot of stuff, right? I mean, I think we all consume a lot of Bills content, and I probably need to start writing it down and giving people credit, because I don't regurgitate it a lot. I just kind of filter it, and then sometimes it'll shape what I think, and then it'll come out differently. But like literally, I heard somebody say, it may have been Chris Brown on One Bills Live, say that or Steve Tasker, that the Bills last year against Lamar spied him with several different players at different times. So it wasn't one guy was tracking Lamar all over the football field. One play, it was Edmonds. The next play, it was, Taron Johnson. The next play, it was somebody else. It just kind of depended on what the look was and what the defense had called, and that would change the spy versus always spying him. Prediction for the game, the Bills win. I'm going to predict the Bills win. I'm probably right where you are. I'm probably in that 27 range for the Bills. I mean, that defense is no joke. And as much success as the Bills have had, it's the playoffs. This is different. This isn't week 8. This isn't week 9. This isn't week 10. This is, win or go home. We're going to get their best, and hopefully we give them our best. I'm going to go 28-17. What'd you say?
I said
24.
20 and 24. Yeah.
I'll go 27-17. 27, is that right? 27-17. So 24, 27, 21. Yeah. So that's 2 field goals and 3 touchdowns. And I think Josh Allen accounts for all 3 of them. I literally think he's either going to throw for 1 and rush for 2 or throw for 3. I think he accounts for all of them again. Game changer in this football game for me. It's going to have to be on somebody on defense as well. It's going to have to be somebody on defense. Whether that's Ed Oliver, who shows up out of nowhere and just disrupts everything that's going on, or like you said, a linebacker, a big dude like Saron Neal playing, that they put in nickel or in dime. It's going to be interesting to kind of see, but exciting stuff for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics Multicast Network, and I'm your host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. That is my co-host, Clay Troy. You can find him on Twitter at Clay Troy. Do me a favor, Clay. Tell the people where they can find you real quick.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, obviously, as Joe said, and then I also have a podcast that I do weekly, the Buffalo Counterpoint podcast. Didn't get anything out this week. Didn't have enough time to dive into the film. Or usually, the game plan for what I do is I get someone from the opposing team, a podcaster, fan, or reporter, to come on and join me, and we talk about the matchup a little bit. And that's been really fun for me because I get to gain perspective on the team that we're about to play from someone that reports on them from a week-to-week basis. And that's kind of the goal. I want to be able to not only learn that myself, but be able to have the Bills fan base be able to kind of hear that perspective as well.
Yeah, Sancho Mack has been all over the chat tonight, over the comment section. This one thing I can guarantee you: if the Bills do win, you won't be back next week. It's funny how they never come back, right?
I did see a Colts fan in here. He was being really nice too. So, respect to all the Colts fans. Well fought game. I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be similar this week. It's a great game, honestly.
Oh, a super chat just popped in. James Cortez. Thank you for the super chat. Read, tackle, intercept Lamar. Force Lamar to throw. Give Singletary more carries. Bills use every passing weapon and put up 2 TDs in the first half. Who should replace Brian Daboll? Well, that's a lot. He got his money's worth.
Yeah, I know.
So let's start at the top. This is going to take the rest of the show. Read tackle. So we talked about that. So tackling is going to be big in this football game. They're not going to be able to over pursue. They're not going to be able to body check guys to the ground, which we saw Jerry Hughes do twice ineffectively against the Colts. They're also not going to be able to shoulder tackle guys. They're going to have to be sound. It's going to be somewhat cold, as much as it's going to be 36 during the day, but this game's going to start at night. So it's probably going to be 28 degrees when this game kicks off. It's going to hurt when they tackle guys, but they've got to be committed. They've got to want it, right? Intercept Lamar is sometimes easier said than done. Force Lamar to throw. We did cover that. Yes, that's true. Keep him in the pocket. The longer stats on Lamar Jackson, the longer he's in the pocket, the more the seconds tick by, the worse of a passer he becomes. His passer rating drops, as does his completion percentage. Give Singletary more carries. Bills use every passing weapon. Put up 2 T's in the first half, and then I'm going to let you hit this one. Who should replace Brian Daboll?
I don't know personally who it's going to be, but whoever it's going to be, they're going to be, I think they might pull someone from a college team, someone that's accustomed to an air raid offense. And that's because that's the team that they are right now. They've got great wide receivers. They got a quarterback that can throw it anywhere on the field. If you can get someone that is, from an air raid offense, a team that does a lot of throwing, a lot of, 10 personnel, something like that, that's who they're going to bring in. It's someone that's familiar with play calling too. They're not getting, because McDermott's not an offensive guy, they want someone who's called plays before. I mean, Daboll was kind of almost an experiment to an extent, and it took him a few years to really adapt to being able to call plays. It took him, halfway through really to his tenure in Buffalo before he realized he needed to be up in the booth before he could call plays. Excuse me. So it's going to be someone who has experience calling plays and is familiar with an air raid offense. Yeah,
and the other thing that is never talked about Brian Daboll is when he has had somewhat of a down game where maybe he got outcoached a little bit, which I think we would all say that he kind of outcoached himself, or he got outcoached in that Colts game. He has bounced back well the game after. He's always come back the second game and been better than he was the game before it, which is very good.
I would even say half to half. I would even say half to half. He's been adjusting much better this season as opposed to last season. We've seen the Bills struggle in first halves and then be able to come back in the second half and play good football. The Steelers being the prime example there.
Yes, and Daboll is from Western New York. He went to St. Francis, which is why there's a lot of speculation that he's going to go to the Chargers because their general manager went to St. Francis with him. Yes. They played on the same football team for 1 year.
And also, I mean, that's the job that you want is just the Chargers. And I think Dable's ready to be a head coach. You know, time management was the big issue with with Lynn. I think if Dable goes to the Chargers, he's going to have everything he needs to be a successful head coach out there.
So talk to me about the window. So we're going to take the last couple minutes. Talk to me about the window of opportunity, because I don't think any Bills fans this entire year have been delusional and been like Super Bowl or bust. Like, we are the Super Bowl champions before it got there. We've been very grounded. The interviews that I've done with Patriot content providers and just different content providers from different fan bases were always very like surprised, not only by me, but other content providers and even Bills Mafia, that it's like, no, like we got steps to take. Like, there's a process here that we're trying to accomplish. What do you think the window is? So if it's not this year, how open is it? I believe I'm going to answer before you. I shouldn't, but I think Josh Allen does win a Super Bowl. Like, I think that he has that talent level to be the guy that can do it almost not on his own, but he just has that it factor. What is your idea of the window? If it's not this year, when is it?
I mean, the window is immensely larger than I thought it would be, and that's because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen opens up the window to be large. I mean, it all just depends on he needs to have one of his good seasons, a season like he's had this year, which, by the way, any other season would be an MVP season. If Aaron Rodgers didn't exist, he would be the MVP, in my opinion. So, if he can have a season like this, if the team's playing well, and it all comes down to the playoffs. Any team can win in the playoffs, and it's all about your game plan, when you get hot, your confidence in the playoffs. So if they don't win it this year, it's just more experience that they get in the postseason, and they're going to use that experience to come back and hopefully win more games the following year. I think the window is large right now, and because Josh Allen is around, and he's probably going to get a nice big long contract at the end of this season. He'll probably be around for a while. I think the window's going to stay large, and I feel confident about that with Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane and the culture that they built and the players that they bring in.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's not if, it's when for this kid as far as that goes, and it very well could be this year, and it might not be this year. But I'm going to say what I've said to everybody tonight, all night long. So there's still over 400 people in this room watching us tonight, and it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you guys and have you tuned in and checked in and like super active. I'm going to let you go first. No, I'm going to go first. I'm sorry. I just want Bills Mafia to enjoy this football game. I just want you to just soak it in. I've said it. This is the third time I've said it. I just want Bills Mafia to take in what they're about to witness, what they're about to watch, the greatness of the stage that they're about to be on, and the reality that the stage just gets bigger with every step they go. They're primed, they're practiced, and they're prepared for what they're about to go through. They've had 4 or 5 primetime games in a row. They just won a playoff game. They've won on Thanksgiving, on the Thanksgiving stage. Everything is set. Like, the table is set. So just soak it in, Bills Mafia. So what would you say? What would you say to the fans right now?
In my opinion, this is the best quarterback play the Bills have ever seen. That includes the Jim Kelly years. Jim Kelly was a great quarterback, but he never played like this. And that is attributed a little bit to the way that the game is played now. It's more of a throwing league, and it's designed to be a throwing league. But it's a special team. Josh is a special player. And this, I think kind of the whole buildup from the time Sean McDermott got hired, and immediately started adding his guys to this roster and building that culture around his guys that he brought in. And then you could even say that Beane is one of his guys. He brought Beane in. He's one of the reasons that he's there, since he got hired first as the head coach. Definitely enjoy it. Be able to soak this in. This is not something that we're used to. Think back a couple of years, think back 5 years when Rex Ryan was our coach. We would have never expected that 5 years into the future, we'd be thinking about our team making a Super Bowl run and being realistic about it. Because right now it is a realistic goal where the Bills could win the Super Bowl. They could beat any team. They could beat any team in the NFL as long as they're playing their game and the game plan is right. So soak it in, because it's, while I do think that this is something that we can get used to an extent, seeing the Bills make the playoffs, win the division, This is going to be one of the better years in my opinion, and I think it's also kind of nice that it's been a bright point in the whole year as far as COVID goes. We haven't been able to be in the stadium as much. People, for those of us that are in Buffalo, we can't watch the games as much. But for everything bad that's happened, over the past year, the Bills have been the bright spot. So I think that's something that we should always remember heading into the future. Is that sure this year sucked, but at least we had the Bills.
Yeah, super good, super good. Well said. I almost wonder if we should just walk off camera and leave the chat open, because Bills Mafia and Ravens flock, I don't know what you call them, are like going at each other in the chat. It's pretty awesome. Are you watching it?
I do, yeah. I'm
Pierre, like we have to maybe we should just bring Pierre on and he can moderate.
Yeah.
Preston, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for being a part of the show. We are wrapping up here, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, hashtag hearts on fire, hashtag dare to dream, hashtag Poncho's Army. Right there. Hashtag believe. Yes, Preston. All of those things. Very much so. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Hump Day Hotline on the Buffalo Fanatics podcast, right? Multicast Network is going to happen one sooner or later. Multicast Network. I'm your host, Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. That is my co-host, Clay Troya. You can find him on Twitter at Clay Troya. He told you where you could find him, and you need to tune into his show, the Buffalo Counterpoint Podcast. And my show is the Overreaction Sports Podcast that drops every post game. So every day after the game, whatever the game is, and it's going to come to you as long as the Bills are playing football. So I'm excited to kind of see how this season wraps up. But I appreciate you guys for just tuning in, for being a part of the show. 27-17, you said 28-24. It's going to be a good football game regardless. We love you guys. Final words?
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.